Hi, welcome to the latest video. This one is about visualizing surname data, and it's going to depend on a series of maps that are available on the site. So I'm just going to go straight to the site and start doing that. Right, here we are on the site. The bits I want to look at are here in the main browse section. It says articles and surname data. And these are a series of maps. I'm just going to go through them from the top to the bottom and explain what they say and what you can glean from them. This is a listing of Irish surname variety by county. Now, what it does, it simply goes to Griffith's valuation and counts the number of different surnames in each county. Okay, why would you want to do that? Well, because the variety of surnames in a county is a pretty good proxy for the diversity of origins of people in the county. So, for example, if you look, you see by far the biggest one is what density is. I've taken the number of surnames and divided it by the area. So that's why it's called surname density. So Dublin, obviously, which is where everybody migrates into, as by far the highest density. So there are people from Antrim and Donegal and Mayo and Cork, all with Cork surnames and Donegal surnames in Dublin. So the density of surname variety is much higher than anywhere else. So it tells you a few things about particular areas of the country as well. So the Western Seaboard, Galway, Kerry, okay, Donegal, Mayo, okay, Clare. You can see they're all very, very low on the scale. In other words, the surnames in those counties are much more homogenous, even though at this point during Griffiths, these would have been highly densely populated, but there just aren't that many different surnames, which is interesting because the surname density, surname difference is a kind of a proxy for as I said, the different origins. So they're quite homogenous areas of the country, is what I'm saying, along the Western Seaboard, all the way down Donegal, Sligo, Mayo. Sligo slightly different, Sligo slightly bigger there, you can see. So that's because there's an influence of the northeast of Presbyterian and Scottish and English surnames coming in. That's one thing. So, but the Western Seaboard is much less diverse than lots of other areas, Dublin in particular, but also very interestingly, there's a part of North Leinster, South Ulster, the old kingdom of Oriel, which includes South Armagh, Monaghan, part of County Louth, that area which is now the borderland, the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic, that has really high surname density. So Armagh, Louth, Monaghan, you can see and this tells you something. It's a confirmation. Well, I mean, it's something. If you know anything about the area, you know this already. This is the point really where the two cultures on the island, the northeastern Protestant Presbyterian culture and the southern Catholic Gaelic culture, collide and intermix in a very, very strong way. And you can see that the variety of surnames, that the density of surnames there is much higher than in other areas of the country because of that. There's a short little essay here at the bottom of the page that summarizes more or less what I've been saying there. Okay, on to the next one. Surnames by county. This is the absolute number of surnames by county. Again, it's a kind of a proxy for the variety of origins of people in the various counties. And again, you can see Dublin is very high out there, but Antrim is the leader at this point. So Antrim, Belfast, again, you have the sheer one of the things that is at the root of this is the sheer variety of Gaelic surnames, the Mac surnames. We'll come to that in a few seconds. But there are lots and lots of different surnames in the northeast, in Antrim, in Down, in Tyrone, in Armagh. So you can see again the culture of the country is reflected in the surnames, and that was one of the points of doing these charts. Okay, on to Macs. These are two maps showing the absolute numbers of Mac or M apostrophe or MAC by county in Griffith's valuation, and the bottom map is O. So Mac is the Gaelic prefix meaning son of. O is a Gaelic prefix meaning grandson of. The vast majority of Irish surnames are patronymic, and they come from the father or the grandfather. But there is a big difference, as you can see from the maps, as to where in Ireland they are strongest. So by far the strongest area for Macs is Ulster. And you can see Antrim is by far the biggest one. Whereas for O surnames, it's Cork, Limerick, Clare. Now, there is this sort of old wives' tale out there that Mac is Scottish and O is Irish. And it's not true. They're both Gaelic originals. As I say, Mac, son of, O, grandson of. But Mac is also found in Scotland because lots of Irish, well, because we invaded the place basically way back, and gave them our surnames, and now they're called MacDonald and the other Mac. So the Mac is found in Scotland as well as Ireland, but Mac is a Gaelic original surname as well. But that connection with Scotland may be the reason why that's so strong there. O, as you can see, is very, very, it's found in some places in Antrim, in Fermanagh, but not nearly as often as along the western seaboard and through that central part of Munster, Clare, Limerick, Cork, and Tipperary. So the O is very definitely a southern version. So that may be the origin of the old wives' tale. Moving on, Mac surnames by year. One of the things, again, this is from the birth records. What I've done simply is just chart the number of Mac surnames as a percentage of the total births for each year between 1864 and 1913. Okay, one of the reasons to do this was to test what is received knowledge, at least in the Republic of Ireland now, that as the 19th century went on, more and more people reclaimed these prefixes. The prefixes were treated by English-speaking record keepers as optional. So, you know, MacDonald might be recorded as Donald, O'Brien might be recorded as Brian in the birth records. And the received wisdom is that as the 19th century went on, more and more people started insisting on having their prefixes. And I just thought I'd test this. And you can see there is, okay, 1864, it's 9.8%, 10.14%. By 1894, it's 10.65%. It goes down again. So the short story of this is that there was not a massive resumption of the Mac prefixes in the 19th century, the late 19th century, coming up into the early 20th century. Let's have a look at the O surnames then. O surnames by year. This is slightly different, okay? So you have 1.74. It's a much smaller proportion of the total to start off with, but there is definite growth. This falling off here has to do with the way the General Register Office records them, but there is, so you can see 3.12 as opposed to 1.74. So you're talking about nearly a doubling of the number of O surnames. So there is a difference between the O's and the Macs. The O's did resume the prefixes. I think it's possible because well, first of all, as we saw, the O surnames are very strong in Munster, and Munster was very much the heartland of Gaelic culture and the Gaelic revival, the Gaelic Renaissance was much more strongly felt there than elsewhere in the island, and particularly in where the Macks were common in the north, in Antrim and Down and so on. So there are good cultural, historical reasons why this should happen. But even so, even by 1912, the O's and the Macks are still a very small percentage of the total births. And this does contradict the received wisdom that we have that the O's and the Macks came back. I think when the O's and the Macks really came back was after 1921, 1922, when the Free State was set up and Irish Gaelic became the first official language of the state. And suddenly it became very important to have an O or a Mac before your surname. So when it was clear who had won, then the O's and the Macs came back. That may be just me being cynical, but I suspect there's an element of truth in it. One last little map I'd like to look at is this is, there are lots of Irish surnames that end Han. So Morahan, Houlihan, Horahan, Banahan, it is a very common one. And the reason is that on, Houlihan, was a suffix, an affectionate suffix meaning big. Okay, so the same way een means small, as in, to quote my mother, a drink een. On meant big, but in an affectionate way. So there are lots of surnames that talk. So O'Houlihan, Ulach, meaning proud. So meaning your man, the big proud fella. Okay, so there were slightly affectionate digs at the people who bore the surnames. But the interesting thing again, if you look at where they occur, by far the majority are here in Cork. Okay, so Cork, Kerry, to a lesser extent, Limerick, Tipperary. Again, that Munster heartland. So Han, on, they are indicators of locality. So if you have somebody with an ancestor with a surname ending in Han, the likelihood is, and we're talking about statistical likelihoods here, which you have to remember, your ancestors don't obey the laws of statistics always. But the likelihood is that they're from this southern part of the island. I thought this, talking about the surname data like this might be interesting, having looked last week at Dermot's wonderful Excel charts extracted from Kilkeel. This is to show him a kindred spirit, basically. Not that I'm claiming anything like the expertise he has, but I hope you found this interesting. As ever, happy hunting.